So also under the behavioral section, intensive behavioral intervention, IBI. This is definitely another evidence-based practice that's probably had more research than any other type of intervention for ASD. And it's a little more specifically designed, it's again using the principles of ABA, but a little more specifically designed for people with autism spectrum disorder. Generally, it was, it's used now with all ages, but it was really designed for young children, preschool children with ASD in the beginning. It's intensive, meaning that it can be up to 40 hours a week of one-to-one teaching. That's the intensive behavioral intervention component. It usually begins, it's most often delivered on one-to-one basis, so an instructor with a child on a one-to-one basis. It usually begins by establishing the learning, what I call the learning to learn skills. I call them also the CIA skills: cooperation, imitation, and attention. It usually begins with those three: getting the child to be able to cooperate with an instructor, to be able to imitate what the instructor is doing, and holding their attention on the task that you're trying to teach. If you can teach those three skills to a child with autism, their prognosis for the future is very good. They can learn almost anything if you can teach them those three skills. And some kids have a real difficulty even getting those basic learning to learn skills down, especially imitation. So it uses very prescribed antecedents, uses, again, the ABC model. The antecedent is usually the request or the question or, from the instructor to the child. Show me the blue block. And the child, out of 3 blocks, has to select the blue one. The behavior is a behavioral response where they're showing you the correct one, and the consequence is the reward that the child gets for having selected the right one, or the correction if it's the wrong one. So that's basically what IBI looks like. Let me play a little video that'll illustrate it for you. I don't think I can make it full screen, but hopefully this will play.
What do you want to work for? I want piano. Good job making piano. Piano's all done in 3, 2, 1. Pockets. Good job. Match. Yay! Great matching! Look, you get piano for great matching. Piano's all done in 3, 2, 1. Pockets. Nice sitting. Match. Great matching, Sebastian. Fantastic. Look, you get piano.
Whoops. I forgot
Piano's
to turn
all
it
done
off
in
first.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, that gives you a bit of a sense. Get back to the right spot here. Okay. Next one, evidence-based practice, is actually, this one is in the emerging section. Surprising, because structured teaching has certainly been used for many, many years with people with ASD, so you'd think there'd be enough research on it by now to have it included in the evidence-based practices, but it's in the emerging section still. It's based on the principles of ABA still, a little less precise than the intensive behavioral intervention, but still very structured. It includes a lot of environmental adaptations to assist learning, usually in steps of the task sequenced from left to right. It includes the use of schedules, visual schedules, to help the person understand what the steps of the task are that they're to perform, and does a task analysis, but breaks it down into visual form. So we're going to move into the communication section now. So the use of visuals specifically for these purposes, to aid comprehension, to reduce anxiety, and to facilitate independence. So the concept is, when I see it, I understand it. People with autism are stronger visual learners than they are auditory processors. So anytime that you can provide them with information in visual form is going to assist, is going to aid their comprehension of what you're trying to do with them. You probably heard some more about that in the first module. Also used visuals to reduce anxiety. So one of the difficulties, again, I'll just throw in a little piece of neurology, one of the areas that's affected in the brain is the cerebellum, the back of the brain. One of the things that it does many functions, but one of the things it does for us is it allows us to cope with new things, novel things that we haven't experienced before. And it's not functioning, it's not working well for people with autism either, which is why they have so much difficulty coping with change and any new experience. And when they're expecting something to happen and something different happens, why it produces so much anxiety. So if you can lay out for them in a visual schedule what's going to happen at each point throughout their morning, their day, their hour, it reduces that anxiety because they can see in a visual form what's coming. If you just tell them verbally, it's gone instantly and the anxiety returns. Visually, because it's static and held in place for them to process that information, it can help reduce their anxiety. Visual schedules, visuals also promote independence. Because you can teach a child to be able to do a task, but if you have to cue them with your verbally, so let's use toothbrushing since I mentioned it before. If you have to say, pick up the brush, and he can do that, pick up the paste, and he can do that, squeeze it on the brush, and he can do that, put it in your mouth, and he can do that. What he's really learned is only to be able to brush his teeth with you there giving those verbal cues. If instead you put a visual task analysis of each step of that task in front of him, and he learns to see pick up the toothbrush, and he does it. He looks at the next one and picks up the toothpaste. Now he can actually do it independently. The visual schedule has allowed him to do it without your presence there. And that's a whole teaching process you go through, but visuals help the person gain more independence because it can get you out of the picture and not have them reliant on your prompts. Okay. Also need to understand that visuals are not just pictures, however. There are lots of people with ASD who read, even some who read that can't speak. And so words, signs, lists, these are all visuals as well, and they're all visuals that we ourselves use all the time for reminders. And they do include pictures. They can be symbols of pictures, not they can be actual photographs. And for some people, it can be the actual object as the visual that is the cue for them rather than a representation of it.